So today I'm bringing guys a brand new sports cards video. In today's video, I'm going to be showcasing some of the worst sports card investments that people have made and how you can really use this data to really make sure that the cards you're investing in don't have this much downside potential. So without further ado, we are going to hop right into this video. So the first card that we're going to go over is going to be Coby White. Now, Coby White, of course, had a very good start to his career. He was a very hyped player at one point, and his prices were going through the roof. This card in 2019 was an $83 card, and slowly but surely it jumped all the way up to over $700. Even some sales as high as $1,162 for his Prism Silver PSA 10. So at this point, his hype was pretty much at a peak level. People were assuming he's going to be, you know, the next Kobe Bryant, pretty much at that point, paying $1,200 for, you know, a pretty high pop, Prism Silver PSA 10, which, you know, is pretty similar pop if you think about it to Kobe Bryant's Topps rookie PSA 10, and that card's around $1,000 now. So people were essentially buying his prices as if he was already a star. Now, these prices were assuming he was going to be the next Kobe Bryant, or whatever people were thinking at this point in time. But of course, as he did not meet expectations moving forward and he got injured, his prices just kept declining. And we see now some sales as low as $20. Last sale, in fact, is $16 in a PSA 10. So imagine paying close to $1,200, and now this card is $16, pretty much 1% of what it used to go for. It lost 99% of its value. Now this is a big learning lesson because a lot of people are buying into players assuming they're already going to be stars. If you're buying in at this peak, where is your upside? If he turns out to be Kobe Bryant, which, you know, is a 1 in a million chance, he's still, where's the upside? Because Kobe Bryant's Topps, if you look at it, pretty much goes for the same price. Kobe Bryant's Topps is not much more expensive. We see PSA 10s, I believe, for less than $1,000 right now for his Topps. And that's a pretty equivalent card, given a Prism Silver has a pop of around $1,500. His Topps might have a little bit higher of a pop, but that's Kobe Bryant, keep in mind. And so if you're buying into players, with those prices, you pretty much hold no upside, because even if he is a Kobe Bryant down the line and say the pop goes up to 4,000 over time, even if he is the next Kobe Bryant, that's probably going to be around $1,000 card. So there's pretty much no upside when buying into players like, Coby White at that high prices. We saw some similar in the football market with guys like Mac Jones. Mac Jones was very hyped as well. Of course, taking over in New England, everyone had very high expectations, and his prices were blended in as if he was already pretty much Tom Brady. His Prism Silver, for example, was almost a $1,200 card. It's currently down to $150. So you have to keep in mind when you're buying into players what their expectations are. If he's already expected to be a star, if he's a star, his prices are going to stay the same. However, if he's not a star, the prices are going to tumble. And on top of that, when you're buying into guys like this, as soon as the set comes out, the population at this point was probably sub 100, and the population triples, the demand has to triple as well for the price to go up, for the price to even stay the same. The demand has to meet the supply increase, and that's simply not going to happen for a lot of cards, of young players who, the population could be 100 today and 500 in 5 months if it's a new product, right? So if you got to keep in mind that the supply is going to 5x in the next 5 months, so the demand has to 5x as well, or this card's not going to stay the same price. We saw it very recently as well with Kyler Murray. Of course, he just recently went out with an injury, and this card right here was already an $1,100 card, and it's currently down to $57 as well. So we see it across sports. There's a lot of hype on certain players, a lot of expectation built into their prices, and if they're not able to meet that expectation, their prices are going to really show for it, right? And that's just kind of any market is going to be like that, right? I don't think it's just a sports card market. For stocks, for example, a company's expected to put in a certain amount of, revenue in a quarter, and if they don't meet that, their prices are going to go down. If they meet that or exceed that, the prices will go up. So one big thing I wanted to talk about as well was touch on more the fact that when a product first releases, there's hardly any population. So the pop counts are super low. We saw, for example, LaMelo Ball, the first ever Prism PSA 10 of his, sold for $1,500. This was when the product first came out. It was probably a pop 1 or pop 5 at that time. And in just a matter of around a year and a half, the population has rose to nearly 3,000 PSA 10s. And so if the population and the supply is increasing so drastically, the demand has to be increasing drastically just for the price to stay the same. And when the demand does not quite meet those expectations, we see the prices on these cards absolutely tumble. We saw it even worse with some of LaMelo's other cards. For example, like a LaMelo Prism Silver. These cards out the gate were extremely hot. This was a $6,500 card. And as you guys know, LaMelo hasn't been performing as well, but regardless of that, that price was not going to sustain. Even if he was the next Luka Doncic, I do not believe his prices would have sustained where they were at. So I do really want you guys to keep in mind when you're buying into cards, what are the pop counts and how much is the pop count going to increase in the coming months? I'm much prefer to buy cards where I'm pretty sure the pop is not going to really drastically increase in the coming future, just so that the demand doesn't have to, multiply just for me to break even, because that's just, a long shot to even make your money back. We saw even Anthony Edwards, who has had a pretty good career. His Prism Silver PSA 9 was $650 and it's down to $140. So we're seeing a lot of people lose a lot of money. And I think a lot of it's not even just the market, but there's another factor when you're just buying into cards when they're fresh and a product is new and there's hardly any on the market. And then in the coming months, you're going to see 2,000 hit the market. And now all of a sudden the card's not as rare, not as valuable as it was before. Another card that I did want to go over is going to be the hype factor. Buying into the hype. We saw TJ Warren have an incredible bubble. And during the bubble, even after the bubble, his Prism, his Prism base, ungraded, was a $50 card. And that at that point, everyone was buying into the hype. Everyone was excited about TJ Warren. Maybe he's going to be, the next Kevin Durant. Who knows what people were thinking at that time, buying a Prism base for $50. That's pretty much, half the price of Luka for a raw card. And as you guys know, this went back to where it belongs, right? A $1 card, a $2 card. So it's very tough to see people dropping so much money on certain cards during a hype train. And as we see, they always come down. This PSA 9 was also a $50 card. It's down to $9. It wasn't just TJ Warren. There were many other players that in the past that people have hyped up at random times when they've had great games. But it's just part of the game. And I think you guys really have to take a more broad perspective. I think all of us really have to take a more broad perspective when investing. Understand, are we in a bubble? Is there artificial hype on this player? Is he going to be as popular months down the line as he is right now? And so those are all the questions I would really be asking yourself when investing. If a player has all the attention on them right now, no matter how great they play, in 3 months, will the attention still be on them? So I think that's really important when investing, understanding attention, people's behaviors. A lot of economics is behavioral based. If there's a lot of people jumping on a hype train, maybe if you catch it at an early point, for example, when the TJ Warren hype train started in around, July, beginning of August, if you could buy into a Prism Silver raw and flip it, when the hype train's at its peak, that could be a strategy for some, but if you're just buying in blindly without really a plan, you could end up holding the bag. And even if you bought it at this point and this new comp comes in, but you're not able to sell it at that point, you could be caught holding it, and then it just, totally drops $20 down from pretty much $300. So I would say whenever you're buying in, you always have to have a plan, and really understand what you're trying to do with it, because holding guys like this for the long term, it's not going to pan out. But for the short term, it can, right? If you had bought it, for example, in June or July, or when he started to have a big game right here for $100 even, and just got out of it when when its hype was at a peak, that could have been a way to do it. But if you're holding on to it, and you really have to understand what the catalyst is that's going to cause its prices to go up. And if there isn't a strong enough catalyst, chances are it's not a good investment. But I really hope you guys did enjoy this video. We are on the road to 50,000 subscribers, so please go ahead and subscribe down below. But other than that, I hope y'all enjoyed, and I'm out. Peace.